Why is it so hard to forget someone who has hurt us? Is it the heart, the mind, or something even deeper that keeps us tied to the past? Perhaps you've tried to move on, filling the emptiness with new experiences, convincing yourself that it no longer matters, and yet, somehow, that memory lingers like a persistent shadow that refuses to fade. Have you ever wondered why this happens? Today, we are going to explore an answer that goes beyond the superficial, diving deep into the hidden corners of our mind and soul. To truly understand why certain people and experiences remain etched into us, despite our strongest efforts to let them go, we must look beyond what is visible. One of the greatest minds in psychology, Carl Jung, dedicated his life to deciphering the mysteries of the unconscious. His work left us with profound insights into why we cling to certain relationships and why emotional wounds can feel impossible to heal. This video is not just for those who seek to forget, but for those who wish to heal, to better understand themselves, and to reclaim control over their emotions. Imagine this. You're lying in bed, the lights are off, and silence surrounds you. The world outside is quiet, yet your mind refuses to rest. The memories of that relationship, of the laughter, the pain, the words left unsaid, come rushing back as if everything had just happened yesterday. Perhaps you find yourself wondering, why couldn't things have been different? What could I have done to avoid the pain? Why did I allow someone to have so much power over me? This cycle of thoughts is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of something deeper within you, something unresolved that is asking to be understood. And you are not alone in this. Many people have gone through relationships that left deep emotional scars. And despite what society tells us, that time heals all wounds, the truth is far more complex. Time alone does not heal what we carry inside. A wound left unattended does not simply vanish, it lingers beneath the surface, shaping our emotions and decisions in ways we may not even realize. Jung's teachings remind us of a crucial truth. What we do not process consciously remains in our unconscious, it does not disappear. Instead, it hides in what Jung called the shadow influencing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors from beneath the surface. The unconscious mind does not forget. Everything we have not faced, everything we have not fully processed, gets stored in this vast and hidden space within our psyche. And it doesn't just stay there. It finds ways to manifest in our daily lives, often without us realizing it. This is why, even when you consciously want to forget that person, something inside you resists. The emotional connection, the shared experiences, and even the pain itself become echoes that continue to reverberate deep within you. At the core of Jungian psychology is a concept that is key to understanding why we struggle to let go: the shadow self. The shadow is the part of our unconscious that holds all the experiences, emotions, and desires that we have repressed or ignored. It is made up of everything we find too painful, too uncomfortable, or too difficult to face directly. And when we go through a painful relationship, especially one that leaves us feeling abandoned, betrayed, or unworthy, these emotions often get buried in our shadow rather than fully processed. But the shadow does not stay silent. Instead, it influences us in subtle but powerful ways through recurring memories, intrusive thoughts, and even patterns of behavior that keep us stuck in cycles of pain. This is why some people find themselves drawn to similar toxic relationships over and over again. It is not mere coincidence. It is the unconscious mind recreating past wounds, seeking resolution, pushing us towards situations that mirror what we have not yet healed. According to Carl Jung, the shadow is that hidden part of ourselves that we often choose to ignore or suppress. It encompasses all the aspects of our personality that we deem unacceptable, uncomfortable, or unworthy. Our deepest fears, insecurities, unfulfilled desires, and unresolved wounds. These are the fragments of ourselves that we push into the unconscious because they feel too painful or too difficult to confront. However, the shadow does not simply disappear. Instead, It manifests in our interactions with others, particularly in relationships that are intense, emotionally charged, or conflict-ridden. Jung suggested that what we reject in ourselves often gets projected onto those around us. In other words, when we feel deeply hurt by someone, it is not always just about what they did or said. More often than not, the real pain stems from what they revealed about us, about the parts of ourselves we have yet to acknowledge. Imagine, for instance, that the person who hurt you represented something you fear within yourself. Perhaps their actions triggered your deep-seated fear of abandonment, exposing a desperate need for companionship that you have long refused to recognize. Or maybe their rejection did not just wound you in the present moment, but rather reopened an old emotional scar, one that you have carried since childhood yet never fully healed. The shadow acts like a mirror, reflecting back to us the aspects of our psyche that we have buried in the depths of our subconscious. When someone unknowingly triggers this reflection, the intensity can be overwhelming. It is as if we are being forced to confront a version of ourselves that we would rather not see. This is why letting go of pain becomes such a difficult process. The suffering is not solely tied to the other person. It is intricately linked to what they have unearthed within us. So I ask you, what do you think that relationship revealed about you? What part of yourself have you yet to accept? Reflecting on these questions is not easy, but it is the first essential step toward true healing. Jung famously stated that, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This means that as long as we avoid confronting the emotions, wounds, and projections that emerge from our relationships, we will remain trapped in the same repetitive cycles. But there is hope, because once we bring our shadows into the light, not only can we release the pain, but we can also learn from it. This leads to an even deeper question. Why do we seem to repeat the same stories in our relationships, especially the painful ones? Jung provides us with a fascinating answer. Our psyche is shaped by archetypes, the universal patterns that reside within the collective unconscious. These archetypes function like invisible guides, influencing our emotions, thoughts, and most significantly, the way we navigate our relationships. In harmful or toxic relationships, certain archetypes tend to emerge in predictable ways. One of the most common is the savior, a person who feels an overwhelming need to rescue or fix others. At first glance, this role might seem noble or selfless, but beneath the surface, it often masks a deep insecurity, the need to feel needed in order to validate one's own existence. On the other side of this dynamic, we find the victim, someone who identifies with suffering and helplessness, believing that their well-being is dependent on others. This archetype naturally attracts the savior, leading to a relationship built on mutual dependency. Over time, however, this dynamic becomes unsustainable. Then, lurking in the shadows, there is the villain. This figure arises when unhealed wounds manifest as aggression, control, or manipulation. Often, those who play the role of the villain have been wounded themselves, and they perpetuate cycles of pain as a form of self-protection. These archetypes do not exist in isolation. They interact, fuel each other, and create complex emotional patterns. For example, a person who identifies as the savior may initially feel fulfilled by helping someone they see as the victim. But as time goes on, they may begin to feel drained, unappreciated, or taken advantage of. This resentment can eventually transform them into the villain in the eyes of the victim, leading to a cycle of blame, hurt, and disillusionment. This destructive loop is more common than we realize. But the real question is, why do we fall into these patterns time and time again? Carl Jung explained that unconsciously, we are drawn to people who reflect our deepest wounds, or patterns we have inherited from our families. If you experience rejection during childhood, you might find yourself attracted to emotionally distant individuals. This is not a coincidence. Rather, it is as if your psyche is trying to recreate the scenario in which the original wound occurred, hoping to resolve it. Imagine it like this. A person who grew up feeling that they had to earn their parents' love might seek a romantic partner who is cold or indifferent, believing that if they can finally win their affection, they will heal that old wound. But instead of finding comfort, they fall into an endless cycle of rejection and despair, reinforcing the very pain they wish to escape. The key to breaking these patterns lies in making the unconscious conscious. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This means that if we do not bring awareness to the forces shaping our relationships, we will continue to repeat the same painful patterns, believing them to be inevitable, rather than choices we can change. One of the most powerful ways to free ourselves is by identifying the archetypes that influence our relationships. Archetypes are deep, universal patterns of behavior and emotion that operate within our psyche. Are you playing the role of the savior, always trying to fix and rescue others? Or perhaps you see yourself as the victim, constantly feeling powerless in your relationships. Maybe you even identify with the villain, pushing people away before they can hurt you. Take a moment to reflect. What roles have you unconsciously played in your past relationships? What patterns seem to repeat over and over again? Answering these questions is the first step to unraveling the hidden forces shaping your life. By bringing these patterns into the light, you begin the journey of breaking the cycle. Because in the end, understanding your archetypes doesn't just free you from toxic relationships. It allows you to build healthier, more authentic, and deeply fulfilling connections. Forgiveness is not about time. It is about internal transformation. We often believe that simply waiting will make pain fade away. But Jung teaches us that true healing requires us to confront our shadow. The shadow is the hidden part of our psyche that holds the emotions, fears, and wounds we try to avoid. But how do we face it? How do we truly heal from a painful relationship? Here, I will guide you through a step-by-step process to free yourself from the weight of a relationship and transform pain into a tool for growth. The first step is to recognize the emotions that this person still triggers in you. Take a moment to reflect. When you think about them, what do you feel? Is it anger, sadness, guilt, or perhaps a confusing mix of emotions? Instead of suppressing these feelings, allow yourself to fully acknowledge them. One effective way to do this is by writing in a journal or sitting in a quiet space for deep reflection. Ask yourself, where is this feeling really coming from? What part of my past, my insecurities, or my unmet expectations is being reflected here? For example, if you feel anger, it may not only be directed at the other person, but also at yourself for allowing certain things to happen. If you feel guilt, it might be rooted in a deep fear of not being good enough. These emotions are not random. They are windows into your shadow. Observing them without judgment is the first step in dissolving their power over you. A powerful exercise is to visualize the person standing in front of you, not as an enemy but as a mirror. Ask yourself, what is this relationship revealing about me? What do I need to accept or heal within myself to truly let go of this pain? At first, this may feel uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also deeply transformative. Jung believed that every painful experience holds the potential to teach us something essential about ourselves. The relationships that mark us the most, whether through love or suffering, are opportunities to uncover hidden patterns that need to change and wounds that are ready to heal. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" shift your perspective and ask, "What can I learn from this?" For instance, if a relationship made you feel invisible or unappreciated, perhaps it is a sign that you need to work on your self-worth and establish stronger boundaries. If it made you feel emotionally dependent, it might be an opportunity to develop your autonomy and strengthen your sense of self. Reframing pain as a lesson empowers you. It shifts you from feeling like a victim of your circumstances to becoming the creator of your own healing. In the end, to forget is not to erase but to reconnect with yourself in a way that makes the past lose its power over you. Carl Jung described this process as individuation, the journey toward emotional awareness, and the integration of all aspects of our psyche. It is a path of self-discovery that requires us to embrace both our light and our shadow, acknowledging every hidden corner of our being. By doing so, we cultivate a deeper, more solid connection with ourself, that complete and authentic version of who we truly are beneath the layers of conditioning and fear. Individuation demands commitment and courage. It is not an instant transformation, but rather a gradual unfolding of self-awareness. Each small step matters. You can begin by carving out time for self-reflection, exploring your passions, and nurturing the aspects of your life that you may have neglected. Engage in activities that nourish your soul, whether it's meditation, painting, writing, or simply reconnecting with nature. These practices do more than just provide temporary relief. They initiate a profound healing process. In doing so, you come to a life-changing realization. Peace does not come from external validation or circumstances. It emerges from within. As Jung wisely stated, he who looks outside dreams, but he who looks inside awakens. This is your moment of awakening. By turning inward, you do not merely seek answers. You rediscover yourself. You reconnect with an inner strength that has always been there, waiting to be acknowledged. So I ask you, what are you willing to do to embark on this journey toward your true self? Because forgetting is not an end. It is a beginning. It marks the start of a path toward a fuller, more authentic life. One in which you take center stage, not the wounds of the past. To rewrite the past does not mean changing what happened. Instead, it means transforming how we interpret it. The power that a painful experience holds over us is often not in the events themselves, but in the narrative we have built around them. The stories we repeat in our minds, the ones where pain, guilt, or frustration take center stage, can become emotional prisons, trapping us in suffering long after the events have passed. But here's the truth. You are not your past. You are not the sum of your wounds. You have the power to reshape your story, to extract wisdom from your struggles, and to reclaim your personal narrative. The moment you choose to reinterpret your past through a lens of strength rather than victimhood, you take back control. You become the architect of your own transformation. So what will you choose? Will you continue to be defined by the echoes of yesterday, or will you step into the power of your own healing? Carl Jung invites us to take a different approach, to transform our narrative into a bridge toward growth and self-discovery. Think of your past as if it were a book. For a long time, you have been rereading the same chapter, one marked by wounds, regrets, or reproaches. However, that chapter is not the entirety of your story. It is merely a single part of a book that you are still writing. So what would happen if you chose to take the pen into your own hands and continue writing from a new perspective? Instead of focusing on what you lost or the pain you endured, you could shift your attention to what you learned, the strength you uncovered within yourself as you overcame that suffering. One of the most transformative exercises for this process is visualization. Close your eyes and picture that person standing in front of you. But this time, do not see them as an enemy, nor even as someone who still causes you pain. Instead, imagine them as a fading image, one whose presence is gradually losing its intensity. Visualize their figure dissolving, like a cloud dispersing into the vast sky. Now, in the empty space that remains, plant a seed. That seed symbolizes your future. It is a reminder that you have the power to grow, to flourish beyond what you have lived through. Watch as that seed takes root and begins to sprout, transforming into a strong, vibrant tree full of life. Every day, that tree stands as a testament to your ability to move forward, to become wiser and more resilient. Rewriting our personal narrative does not mean diminishing the pain we have endured. Instead, it means redefining its significance. Rather than viewing the chapter as something that defines your entire existence, you can choose to see it as the moment that set your transformation in motion. Perhaps that relationship taught you about your boundaries, about what you truly deserve, or about your remarkable capacity to endure and overcome hardship. When you reframe your past in this way, its weight begins to lessen. That experience no longer remains an open wound, but instead becomes a scar, one that tells a story of resilience. To forget, then, is not to erase what happened, but to release the emotional burden attached to it. It is allowing the past to rest where it belongs, as a chapter in your journey that helped shape who you are today. By letting go, you create space for new beginnings, for healthier relationships, and for a deeper, more authentic connection with yourself. It is not about ignoring your past, but about choosing how you want to remember it. Because in the end, you hold the power to decide what place that experience will have in your life. This is your moment of transformation, your opportunity to write a new chapter, one where pain no longer defines you, but instead serves as the foundation for something much greater. So I ask you, what story do you want to tell about your life from this moment forward? Because in the end, remembering is not the problem. What truly matters is how you choose to remember, and most importantly, how you decide to move on. Are you ready to close that chapter and begin writing a narrative that is freer, more empowering, and truly your own? Forgetting someone who has hurt us is not merely a matter of time. It is a journey of deep self-understanding and healing. As we have explored, the path to releasing that weight begins the moment we dare to look inward, to confront our shadows, to reinterpret our past, and to construct a narrative that liberates us rather than keeping us trapped. It is not about erasing what we have lived through, but about transforming it, turning it into a pillar of strength that reinforces our identity and propels us forward. Now, I invite you to reflect. What part of your own shadow do you recognize in that relationship that still wounds you? What unprocessed emotions or recurring patterns is it revealing to you? Take a moment to not only recognize what has happened, but also to reflect on what you can learn from it. Every experience, whether painful or uplifting, carries within it a lesson, a hidden message that if uncovered has the power to transform your perspective and strengthen your soul. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Your story, your experience could serve as a beacon of hope for someone else who is going through something similar. Never underestimate the impact that words and reflections can have on others. Sometimes, the wisdom gained through hardship is exactly what someone else needs to hear to find their own way forward. Remember, we are all walking this path of self-discovery and healing together. It may feel like the pain you carry today is eternal, as if it will never fade, as if the weight of it will always be there, pressing against your chest. But if you dare to look inward, if you take the time to truly explore the depths of your own being, you will find the key to letting go. You will realize that within you lies an infinite power, the power to heal, to rise, and to emerge stronger than before. Every step you take towards self-awareness, every moment of introspection, and every small decision to release what no longer serves you, is a step toward a more authentic and fulfilling life. Healing is not about forgetting, it is about transforming. It is about reshaping your pain into wisdom, and using it as fuel for your personal evolution. Forgetting is not the end, rather, it is the beginning of a new path, a journey of transformation that leads to clarity, growth, and an unshakable sense of inner peace. If these words have resonated with you, I encourage you to take action today. Don't let this be just another fleeting moment of reflection. Make it the beginning of something greater. Take a few minutes to write down your thoughts, visualize the life you want to create, and start laying the foundation for a future filled with endless possibilities. Every great transformation begins with a single step, and that step starts within you. And if this video has brought you any value, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear these words today. Together we can create a space where personal growth, emotional healing, and self-discovery take center stage, a space where we uplift and support one another in our journeys toward wholeness. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of the unconscious, into the profound understanding of what it truly means to let go, to heal, and to reclaim your power. Always remember, every step forward counts, no matter how small. You are never alone on this path. I'll see you in the next video, where we will continue exploring the mysteries of the mind and uncovering the keys to living a more conscious, intentional, and meaningful life. Until then, keep growing, keep discovering, and never stop embracing the extraordinary power that lies within you.